Welcome to the Expect Success Podcast, a presentation of GeorgeBollick.com with your host, George Bollick. This podcast is for all things personal development. Don't expect success, prepare for it. Please welcome your host, George Bollick.
Welcome to Expect Success at GeorgeBollick.com. Now, in addition to listening to our podcast, you could also view the video format on YouTube at GeorgeTube.com. Now, on today's show, I would like for you to meet Neil Patel. Neil is a New York Times bestselling author. The Wall Street Journal calls him a top influencer on the web. Forbes says he's one of the top 10 marketers, and Entrepreneur magazine says he created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. He was recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama and a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 35 by the United Nations. Today, Neil is going to share with us what he believes to be the number one key to living a successful life in 2020. Here's Neil.
Successful life is happiness. What makes me happy is different than what makes you happy. And for all of you guys who are watching, it's not about saying, hey, I want to be rich like so-and-so, or I have this friend and he has an amazing life. What you'll find is when you achieve whatever version you consider success, and that could be the same as the other person, you may not be happy. It's not all about working. I was sitting down the other day with my buddy Tim Sykes. We were in Vegas. And he was talking about how his business is growing. He's making millions of dollars. And when I was telling Tim, I was like, dude, if you just went into the office and you worked more, your business could be potentially double the size. And he was like, Neil, what would I do with the money? I already have a lot in savings. I don't care. I love helping people. I love traveling the world and experiencing. Money's not everything. And then he gave me an example of one of his students, Tim Grittani, who's also a millionaire, and he taught him how to trade stocks. And he's just like, yeah, Tim just got back from Iceland and he comes to the Maldives and he's big on building schools and he did really well. He made like 500 grand in December and 500 grand in January, and then February and March he just took time off. And I was like, why would he take time off? He's like, he doesn't care for money. He lives a minimal life. If you want to be successful, you have to figure out what's happiness to you, right? Success is all about the eye of the beholder. If you're happy working 9 to 5 at Microsoft and your life is chill and you get to come home, eat dinner with the family, take a walk in the park, right? And that's happiness for you, good for you. And you should do more of it. Don't look at someone else and how they have a Ferrari or they have something else, or they're the CEO of this big time company and be like, I want to live that life. Or they're a professor at like Harvard and they're like, I want to do that too. If you just want to do that for the notoriety and that'll make you happy, go for it. But don't do something just because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? That's the saying in which you're trying to keep up with other people. Be yourself. There's nothing wrong with not being the richest person in the room. There's nothing wrong with not being the smartest person in the room. There's nothing wrong with not having experiences with other people, You just have to figure out whatever makes you happy, do that, and don't give a shit about what anyone else says.
That's awesome. For more from Neil Patel, simply search YouTube. And be sure to go to his website, neilpatel.com. His bestseller book, Hustle, is available at his website and or Amazon.com. And remember, as the late great Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Today you've been hanging out with Neil Patel. Keep up the momentum. Subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss another episode. We'll catch you on the next show, and thanks a million for listening. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Expect Success Podcast with your host, George Bollick. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please rate, subscribe, and review. And find more great content online at GeorgeBollick.com and on Facebook and Twitter at George Bollick. We'll catch you next time. And remember, don't just expect success, prepare for it.